the voice of a mother and a father and a child. Would you recognize the truth? Do you feel the love that's falling from my eyes? Take just a minute, come and rest here by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, it's all it takes to realize there's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels by your side. Do you hear me talk to you? I whisper through doorways and pathways of your mind, clear like the morning dew, and fresh from my journey, cross an ocean of blue. Take just a minute, come and rest here by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, it's all it takes to realize there's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels here
Om Shanti, everyone. Good evening. Shalom. Salam alaikum. What's up? What's up? Hi, everyone. I hope you've just fell into that experience with that song. 100,000 angels are by your side. Feel it. There's 100,000 angels by your side. Welcome to your Spiritual Vaccine Hour. I'm your wonderful friend on air for as long as all of this lasts, to see how it continues. We have no idea. I'm Sister Jenna. If you haven't met me before and you're tuning in for the first time, we started this over 2 months ago to keep our staff of the meditation museums and close friends up and about and not falling into old patterns. Since then, it's been over 60 shows and just a lot of time together and enjoying. You might hear a character on the side of the screen when I speak to somebody called Sister Gita. She's one of our elders in the space that we're living in, and she's quite a character and entertains us all the time, especially when we go live. So it's a test paper to just see how calm I really am in my nature, and that this isn't artificial, but really I have to stay calm, or I become extremely hilarious because I have no other options. And I just move on, just move on. We all just move on. But despite her wonderful expressions and choices, her presence of spirituality and purity and love is by far one of the best that you'll ever see or feel. So if you've ever been to the Meditation Museum, you know what I'm talking about. And everybody has love for Sister Gita. And she's doing really, really, really well. So we're happy to say that. Every night I usually check in to see how you're all doing, if everything is moving fine. Anything that you need, you can always pop it up on the comments list. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and day after tomorrow, which is Thursday, we will be doing our final production for the Zoom meditation that we're filming. If you're interested in being a part of the Zoom meditation production, which is a 1-hour special on how folks are doing meditation on Zoom, please send us an email at press@americameditating.org or at the Meditation Museum. And Antonia will reach out to each and every one of you. I just want to say that I am feeling so blessed to spend the evenings with you, to be with you, to share, to grow, to listen, to be heard, to feel you, to understand you, and for you to do the same. So thanks to the universe, thanks to the destiny, thanks to all of you for taking your time to tune in and to be with us. I thought that the song that was played for our opening was important because today's topic is a big one. Emotional independence. It's something we all wish to acquire. And some of us have felt that emotions are an important thing, but when they get to the point that we can't control them, then we feel that they're unhealthy. And we look for ways to bypass the feeling that we're going through. But I want to take us on a little path of this discovery. And I want you to observe for your own selves when actually does your emotions get triggered? Oh, when do those emotions emerge for you? Is it usually because of an outside circumstance? Is it usually thumbs up, thumbs down on the comments list? I mean, when is it that your emotions really get evoked? Is it because of something happening outside of you? Or do you feel that there's a chemical adjustment taking place in your physical body? Is it still outside of the realm of the soul? I've known that when I was much younger, I used to watch these UNICEF commercials, and I would get so emotional. I just wanted to earn every dollar I could to feed those children. And as I matured and I gained deeper understanding, I allowed that emotion to be transformed into a form of power that it didn't disempower me, but I transformed the emotion into an awareness of knowledge, an awareness of love that became, it feels like a greater force moving me than just pulling sorrows, pulling what's not working the way I wanted, pulling disappointment, pulling frustration, pulling anxiety in me that just would stir up the emotion. And what's interesting about the human soul is that every time you have an experience, and if it's based on an emotion, the emotion is such a charged experience that it records the vibration of that in your cells, in your body, in your 3 square feet of land around you. And then, of course, to your relationships, to the way you maneuver your business, to the way you earn money, spend money. A lot of it can come from emotions, which is a pre-recording of something that you felt, which was very dramatic. You know, you go to the movies and you see a horror film, and it touches the emotions of fear. You go to a movie and it's action and adventure, and it touches the emotions of ego. You go to a movie of family and, you know, the sweetness, and it touches your emotion of happiness or you know, connectiveness. It could be an attachment. When I observe family-ran movies, it's like it emotes in me the attachment energy, which is also an emotion. And when you leave those scenes, you can feel the emotion just gradually settling inside of you. And you can bring it to the surface when you talk to friends about what the movie is, how the actors played their part. And each time you share the message with someone, you relive the experience of the emotion that you felt in the theater. So how often do you relive anger, anxiety, fear, excitement, adrenaline? When I was a teenager, when I was between, 14, 15, going on to 21 or so, one of the hobbies that my father had was racing cars, and he used to have a Fiat. My cousin had a Capri, I believe. No, he had the Mustang. I had the Capri so long ago. Oh my gosh, that's over 40 years ago. Anyway, one of the things I loved was racing cars. It was just in my blood. I just loved getting in a car and taking it to 100 and just moving it. And now that I've matured and I don't do that anymore, I can feel how those days when I used to drive, my adrenaline was so fed. And so that experience kept repeating itself in me over and over and over again. So I was getting very familiar and very comfortable with arrogance or ego that would have an adrenaline rush. I would bring that into my relationships, into my friendships, into the way I would want to make money. If it's not adventurous, if it's not creative, if it's not exciting, why would I say yes to it? And all of that was a sign that I was simply repeating a past experience that had impacted the soul tremendously. But it was still an adrenaline, and it was a rush, and it was an emotion, and it wasn't peaceful. But at the time, I wasn't looking for peace, I was looking for adrenaline, right? So when we look at our emotional independence, I think it's important for us to be able to identify what is emotional independence. And first and foremost, it means to be in charge of how you want to feel. It means to be completely a master of your thoughts, your words, your choices. You heard me say that in previous shows. But when you've got emotional independence, you are in charge of how you want to think, speak, feel, make a choice, do things. It's in your hands. And I find that that's really important for you to try to visualize. Just for a minute or two with me, visualize what your life would be like when you are fully in charge with what you want to think, when you want to think it. And you're very clear on why you're thinking that thought, knowing that it will create an experience in you, and it will also attract a reality to you too. Take a minute or two and close your eyes and think about this. What does emotional independence look like inside of you and feels like for you? Imagine you're able to deal with a relationship, your marriage, your in-law, your sister, your brother, your supervisor, next door neighbor, the government. You can respond to them not giving you what you feel is an alignment with your life, or they don't give you what you are visualizing or dreaming about. Instead, you're getting something completely different. But because you know who you are and you are in charge of your own spirit, then you choose how you want to respond. So you usually are very attentive. You've allowed your love to emerge. And you're mindful that your thoughts and words and deeds are priceless when chosen with sovereignty, with mastery. Think about it again. How does it look? And how does it feel? How does it feel? What takes us from our sovereignty into feeling subservient to our thoughts and to our emotions are recordings that we have been carrying for a long time in the soul. And also not being mindful of addressing what these recordings are signaling to me. There are times that there are certain hurts and disappointments, and we don't know who to talk to, we don't know how to address it, but it festers in the consciousness. And there are times when a situation is emerging, which is unpleasant, but then I bring forward all of that unaddressed or, just totally not looked into emotions and stuff that I'm sitting on. So then it becomes a wicked mess. You can get so angry that you say things you regret, or you could do something out of emotion that you regret. That means I wasn't in charge at all. How could I have said that? How could I have done that? This is a good person. So that's when we're like not in touch with ourselves, okay? So the way that I'd like to invite us to look at developing that ability of finding strength inside of us is the first and foremost, can I invite all of you just right now? And I could try to find all the pretty words. I'm not into that. What I'm really into right now is I'm just asking you, turn your attention behind your eyes just for a minute. Just turn your attention behind your eyes and listen. What are the thoughts that are emerging at this moment? Do they connect to your emotional independence? Or are they jumbled up? Do they feel like they're pulling you back? Are there like thoughts that are just scattered everywhere? Or are you just feeling like you're sitting in an empty space, wondering, what next do I do? Or all the above? Let's merge a focal point. What if you had a go-to focus in your thoughts that every time you anchor yourself there, power is reclaimed, peace is reclaimed, your light is reclaimed, your sovereignty is reclaimed. Let's try that now. Whatever state you're in as you go behind your eyes, I'd like you to consider that you have an anchor of consciousness that is the divine, the sacred, the supreme. And the anchoring of that awareness is absolutely complete, unlimited, and constantly flowing. The power and the energy required to reclaim your self-mastery. So just imagine the energy of God's light, or the sacred, or the universal, or the supreme, or Khuda, Jehovah, Allah, Bhagwan, whatever is the language that you're comfortable with, it's the same energy. We just speak a different language. So we call that energy by the language that we are born in or raised in or culturally have acquired. So would my emotional independence become very strong if I was anchored in the energy of the Supreme, who is unlimited and completely and always independent? Observe the feeling. It should be a very subtle vibration, very gentle, very quiet, but very alive. Now, through this experiment, I'd like you to disconnect from your anchor with the divine, and I want you to just sit with yourself with no more anchor and see if you feel within a few seconds the pulse, the distractions, the uncertainty, the fear. Where do I go? What's next? Just an observance. Now you're disconnected from source. Now how do you feel? Do you feel emotionally independent? Or do you feel that something is chasing you? Or that you're in a bondage? Or you're uncertain? Let's try one more time. Emerge the sacred. Emerge the energy of God's light. the Supreme, Allah, Jehovah, Khuda, Bhagwan, the Infinite Light, Baba, and anchor your thought vibration into that entity, into that being, and observe how it makes you feel. Now, let go again and just sit inside with yourself and your thoughts, your memories, and your stories. Which one of these state of consciousness do you feel gives you the ultimate independence? The one on your own, or the one connected to Source? Which one? When you're connected to the Source, it's so subtle, isn't it? And it's as if all the energy is flowing back into your system to give you the strength to be a master again, to cope with what you want to think, how you want to feel, the choices you wish to make. And when you are alone, separated from the consciousness of the self with the divine, then everything gets scattered. Everything gets all over the place. And sometimes we just don't know where to go to anchor. You call your best friend, you get a raise, you go on a vacation, you watch a good movie, you get something to drink, and it's temporary. But the emotions are still sitting inside. So imagine that simple practice that we just did together for just a few minutes. It wasn't even 5 minutes, I think, or 6 or 7 minutes, that much. And you were able on your own to witness for yourself what you as a soul feels like if you're not anchored to the infinite, to the universal, to God, to the sacred, versus if you're living your life just on your own terms, only me, I, mine, and there's no divine in it. Then of course you're going to have a lot of emotions that are consistently flowing in your system, is what has become the norm. But after a while it gets exhausting. And you get tired. And there are people in your life that you love. And you want to live fully with them, but you don't have the energy because of emotions. Once I was in India, must have been over 20 years ago, and there is a top scientist known as Jagdish, and Mike George, who's a great author. Look him up, Mike George, from the UK, from Great Britain. And they had a discussion in India, and one said, love is a power, and the other one said, it's an emotion. And there was a sweet debate, you know. It wasn't a negative debate, it was a very sweet debate. And after the discussion, they had not come to a conclusion. But after the discussion, I remembered speaking to both of these great personalities way back then. And both stood in their positions. But then 3 days later, the one who said it was an emotion had a turnaround. And the turnaround was that emotions are fed because of the energy of attachment. But when the energy of attachment is reduced as an experience in the soul, then the soul naturally has the capacity to express its power of love. So in the realization 3 days later, and we're all sitting and talking about this issue, and this is something I've held very strong in me. Love isn't an emotion, but it most certainly is a power in the soul. When love becomes an emotion, it becomes mixed with attachment. So when I see suffering, I might get emotional because my compassion, which is a cousin to love, is also flowing simultaneously as my attachment is flowing. So there are tears, there's an ache, there's a desire to want to do something, but there's also a sense of powerlessness. So you can see how mixed up it is. And that in itself, by feeling that my energies inside are mixed up, I'm happy for you, but I'm not. I support you, but I don't. I like you, but I don't really. I hate you, but I really like you. You know, you can get a lot of these emotions in toxic, intimate relationships where people, until they fight and argue and scream with each other, they don't feel that they care for each other. That's just a pattern that's been served for a long period of time, but in the long run, it gets exhausting and it's no longer sustainable in a relationship. You can do it for a year, you can do it for 5 years, but if you do it for 10 years, you realize this is not healthy because it's attacking your system. Okay? So emotional independence, and I'll pause here and you can ask any questions that you'd like. And I hope that this is making sense to you, because I really feel that the topic is so important now, because we are pretty much kind of with our own selves most of the time, or with people that we live with. And some folks, I've heard a lot of positive things. There's some folks that are doing absolutely great because of isolation. And there's some who are struggling. Now, I'm not saying that the one who's doing great is doing it right and the one who's struggling isn't doing right. I would say if in my isolation I'm struggling, it means there's a truth that's coming up. But I might just need the tools to identify, well, where do I go inwards to find out what is trying to be birthed in me, right? So when you connect the energy to the source, to the sacred, to the unlimited, to Baba, then things start to become really clear for you. Really, really clear for you. And the right thought starts to be streamed in your consciousness to say, well, it's going to be okay. Let me settle myself here. I'll manage this, I'll manage this. So sometimes we feel being driven by our emotions. It's a good thing. And I'm not saying that it isn't, but remember what I said, eventually it gets exhausting. And that means it's not natural, it's not sustainable. But we have just lived in a society that says when you go to a movie, there's adventure, there is fighting. One of my favorites used to be James Bond, 007s, and I would connect them to the spiritual significance. I'm James, I want to save the world, and I only believe in M. And for me, my M is God. That's where I get all my messages. So I would look at them with that energy, but then I realized, God, that really fed my adrenaline. And I realized I was such an adrenaline junkie back in those days. So I just wanted you to be in tune with, we all go through these things. All right, so any questions for me? Does anyone have anything that they'd like to ask or share before we come to a close of our wonderful time together? And I have to look for my glasses to find my 4 eyes. Now I put things down. I don't even know where I put them anymore. All right. Any questions for me, Santosh? Okay. All right. Let's see. Portia, thank you for your beautiful card and your very, very generous donation to the meditation museums. You are such a jewel. Your donation to the meditation museums keeps us optimistic that will be opened even after the COVID crisis. So we thank you for your generosity and thoughtfulness, Portia Davidson. You are an absolute angel. So, brilliant explanation and these concepts of attachment and patterns, yes. Nita, thank you for the clarity. It was interesting, isn't it, Nita? We've been so conditioned to the emotions, the feeling. We've had like family nights in the past, and Santosh is such a sap, right? If he sees something really sad, I'll turn and I'll look at his eyes and it's all watery. And I go, what? Are you going to start crying? And he's like, it's just so emotional. And I go, it's just a movie. And she goes, but it... And I look at that scene and I think it's so sweet because what he's saying is that I feel your pain. I'm feeling your pain. I'm feeling your story. So there's an element of empathy there, right? However, if the empathy is connected to attachment within the soul, where there is an element of some truth of that emotion, I'm still feeding it. So when I watch anything, my consciousness is, let me serve the actors who are playing that part. So what that does is, as I'm looking at the screen, I'm sending peaceful vibrations, so I'm not picking up all the emotions because I'm focused on strengthening the original quality of love in my personality. And that's just a training that I've gotten in the Raj Yoga teachings with the Brahma Kumaris. So it might sound odd, but it really does work. You know, poor Santosh, I have to give him all these Kleenex, you know, like, okay. He's looking at me, you don't give me a Kleenex. All right. Oh, Portia, thank you. All right, so I calm myself quickly when I get angry or upset, yeah. The rally show, when I wake up, I'm anxious, sometimes I'm crying. The work that I'm doing here and every day, my goal is to discover why these emotions are triggered, things are coming up. Rally, I wish I knew your name. I hate to be calling you Rally, but can I answer that? If you're in a particular profession where maybe you're seeing a lot of sorrow and pain, after a while, it just weighs at you. That's normal. But when you're waking up with that feeling, I would ask you check your hormones, see if that's one factor that could be weighing in. The second thing is there something that you are playing over and over again in your mind that you feel you're not able to open up? Today somebody came by and I was so appreciative of her absolute genuine openness with me and safety. And she brought up an event or something that happened with us. I can't even remember what it was. And I hadn't thought about it. It finished right there. When we're done with a conversation, it's done. But she was so humble to share that, but I was holding it because I felt that you felt like this towards me, or you thought like this about me, and I hadn't even remembered the scene. So it could be that we are creating unnecessary thoughts that aren't true, Rally. And I ask you to check that. Are you addicted to a story that isn't true, but it's still feeding something in you that you feel you need for a while? Sometimes to be emotional, to cry, to suffer other people's suffering is sometimes something deeply recorded in the soul of a sense of guilt that I feel that I need to suffer too because of their suffering. And this comes from way, way, way back, previous lifetimes for sure, not even just this one, when it's that deep. So I'd ask you to check that, check your hormones, check the patterns. And the third thing is, Is there a thought of you wanting to do something else? To be with someone else? To be somewhere else? Is there a part within you, Rally, that you're like, I'm not me? And there's at the deep level of the soul, the subconscious in the soul, the sanskaras in the soul, it's really crying to come out, but you won't give it space because you keep suppressing it. So I would recommend some deep breathings when you wake up in the morning, listening to the mantra of Om, playing some really nice meditation songs or music or commentaries, and sometimes just be still. And whatever comes up, write it down and then ask why. And you'll get some answers. Okay, Rally? Sorry if I'm not calling your name right. So sorry about that. So, Jennifer Scotland, Om Shanti, Queen Rising, Nagashri, Eddie, Stephanie Nolan, glad that you could join us. Your first time on with the gathering. Elaine, nice to have you. Hey, Nicole, Om Shanti, Yes V, hi, Mary, Crystalite, lovely to have you on. Shami, thank you for your email. I hope it answered all your questions. Outside surroundings trigger emotions for me, and that's why you have to gain your sovereignty, Shami. We all do. Because if we wait for the outside world to give us the joy that we're looking for, forget it. We're done. We have to be mindful of what we select, of course, because we can't be hermits and just live totally inside, that we don't enjoy life. So the more you raise your vibration, you will start to attract the energy to match the vibration. Okay? So first be clear on the vision of your raised level of emotional independence. Serve it every day. Keep putting the thoughts into it. But don't forget that practice I gave you. When you anchor into the energy of the sacred, the divine, you felt the enormous difference. Whoever did that meditation, give me a thumbs up if you felt an enormous difference as to when you were anchored to the divine versus when you were on your own. Okay, Rally, thank you for giving me your name, Alika. That's a beautiful name. That's a beautiful name, Alika. Perfect. Oh, Dr. Ivy, yeah. So I have a surprise to tell you. Dr. Ivy and I, Alika, will be doing a program together with her sound healing. So look forward to that. Okay. And Santosh, you had another thought? Anything on Facebook?
Yeah, in museum Facebook.
Okay, in museum. Okay, let me come right here. Hi, Benita. Thanks for joining. Ashley, wonderful. When I'm disrespected, Ashley, I love you. When I'm disrespected by someone, I've done nothing that becomes too much. I thought you said, well, I'm done with them. I thought so. Sorry, I missed it wrong. Of course, when somebody disrespects me, one thing is, and I'm inviting everyone to think about this, when somebody disrespects me, whether through their look, that could be a disrespect. You know, when those teenagers used to roll their eyes at you, you're like, you ever had that with the kids? You're talking to the kids and they're like, and you just want to grab them, right? Anyway, that's a long story. But when somebody disrespects you just through their eyes, you can see their ego coming out of their eyes. No one who disrespects you isn't in an ego mode. And whether it's superiority ego or inferiority ego, they're in pain at that time. Now, when I receive that vibrations and I begin to feel inferior, then that's my problem too. So you see, it has to still begin with you, which is what I love about Raj Yoga, because everything about Raj Yoga meditation says you have to fix it. You have to fix your most prized possession, and that is yourself. Hey, Dr. Ivy. Dr. Ivy, Alika is on Facebook, so you might want to hop over and say hello to her. And I just mentioned that we're going to be doing a sound healing together. I'm so glad you're on. So happy to be listening to you. Thank you, Sudha. Betty Brown, love you. Betty Brown, we got your message about the donation, but I don't think it came in, so it wasn't mailed. And thanks to everybody who's been giving donations. Yes, we definitely want to keep the museums open when we get back up and running. Lana, looking forward. I got a message about you and the kids participating in the Zoom meditation. We're looking very forward to that. I think this Thursday will be our last filming of it. So if you want to find out more, just go to the America Meditating website. All right, is everyone enjoying today's session? Thumbs up, thumbs down, because we're coming to an end. All right. Okay, let's see what's on here. Okay, let me see. Oh, I love this. Ashley says, right, and whenever they give me disrespect, right, and I want to knock their chakras into alignment, but sometimes I don't. Ashley, you're hilarious. I just love it. Maria Garcia, Ireland, thank you. Sometimes it's hard to detach from the pain of the worldly relationships. Yeah, I agree. It is. But you have to also count, Maria, you have to count all the times when you do succeed. Because when you count the times you do succeed, you're also building your emotional independence. So pay a lot of attention to your successes when it comes on to that. I believe it builds a lot of strength in us. Great thoughts that are not necessary or true. Yes, Anjit, welcome. Welcome. Christina, thank you. Nice to have you. So ER is about protecting and projecting. Projecting what comes in and understand what to protect, yeah. Kathy, love to have you here. Love the feeling of attachment to source from behind the eyes. Luisa, obrigado. Thank you so much. Nice to hear you. Please give my love to your beautiful daughters and grandkids. So how to practice detachment of toxic people and situations during these turbulent times? First, we have to practice not seeing them as toxic. It's a big deal. So one of the things that I've done, because I've gone through it personally with Sister Gita changing so much with us that I've had to adjust myself, is that I recommend that you see them just as different. Maybe they're not toxic, but they're different. And they're going through their own personal challenges as a person. So when I get infected by their feelings, then what happens is that I'm picking up their toxicity. So then we start to get very angry with ourselves because now we're picking up what we're repulsed by. So that means I'm starting to get repulsed with myself. All right, so don't see them as toxic, but see them as different. And that will begin to help you to reduce your energy of feeding in the negativity about them. All right? Okay. Are there any other thoughts that anyone else would like to share? Thank you, Brother Praveen. Nice to have you. Shami, how can you make donations? Is there a link? I think so. If you go to the meditationmuseum.org, meditationmuseum.org. Yeah. Yeah, we always sometimes forget that part, but today Portia and Betty reminded me, so thank you so much. I don't know, I just don't like, it's good, yes, we do need the funding to keep it going, but I just always forget, I forget. But thanks to Portia and Betty, thank you. So Betty, I don't know what your accountant did, but tell them it flew off with the stork. Didn't come to the address. Anyway, angels, any other questions? Anything in your heart? Anything at all in your heart that's bubbling at this time? Please let me know. I want you to know that as you progress in life and you look back and you do your life review, you've survived everything so far. There are particular periods in your life that it feels very painful, because at that particular period I'm so powerless, and my powerlessness is coming because of some element of attachment or ego to the scenario, to the situation. And I'm not able to pull the power from God to address the situation. So it could last for a day, it could last for a week, the situation could last for 6 months. I could be in a job that I just hate for 5 years, but I just don't have the courage to look for another job. The economy is insecure. I don't know if I'm qualified. I'm at a particular age, they might not hire me. Do you see what those thoughts are doing to you? They're confirming those feelings, aren't they? So what do you and I have to lose? What do you lose if you just start changing yourself? By just changing the way you're seeing the situation and yourself. So the first thing is, I am a soul. And my original power in nature is pure and peaceful and loving and wise. And I've got the divine with me. It's like my shadow. We're hooked. I'm anchored in God's remembrance and God's love. And then the rest of everything else has got to work itself out. Because that base, that strength in you, no relationship, no husband, no wife, no kid, no economy, no government, no religion can take that away from you. Spiritual vaccine is all about that. Just reconnecting you to your power. So change those thoughts that are making you emotionally trapped and become emotionally independent. Okay? All right, so giving everyone a virtual hug and a deep breath. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Be safe. Be kind. Stay free. Stay free. Lots of love. Take care. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. The time that we choose to be aware doesn't necessarily require me to just sit and meditate. But even while I walk and move around, I can be in a meditative awareness, which is awareness of the soul, the original, eternal, imperishable being of light. For a little while, I'd like to invite you to be present, to be here, and to be now. Allow your mind to settle in the moment, to relax. This meditation is about awareness. It's about becoming aware of your original and eternal self. It's about connecting to your truth. Let go of your name. And observe yourself feeling nameless. Let go of your gender to discontinue thinking you're a man or a woman. Let it go and observe how you would feel
walking around without a gender. Let go of the role that you play and let go of the titles that you own. Observe how you're feeling as you are gradually letting go. Let go of your religion and put it aside just for now. And let go of your nationality and even the language that you're accustomed to. Imagine you have no name, gender, role, title, religion, nationality, or even a language. Ask yourself, how do you feel at this moment? And in this feeling, who would think of you and who would you think of? The Supreme Soul would think of you, and you, the liberated soul, would think of the Supreme. In this state of absolute freedom, I am truly who I am. A free, peaceful, pure, immortal, and eternal soul. Allow yourself to just be absorbed in this awareness. At this time,